tonight we have a talk with one of our resident artists. It is Donika Cina tonight, and good evening, everyone. Tonight we are having our third artist talk in the frame of Void's 2021 project, and we are having here Donika Cina from Albania, who is using the wine bar in Rodrigina 1 since Monday, and you can visit her every day there from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And this conversation is live streamed on Facebook, and Zoom session is also recorded, and so it will be also put up later on YouTube, so you can see it later if you don't manage to see everything tonight. Donika, hi.
Hi. Very glad to be here.
Yeah, we are also very glad that you are here because we know that these are difficult times to travel, and we are very happy that you managed to come here after a long, what was it, 10 hours of traveling or even more?
Yes, it was a long travel, but maybe that's why it's more precious being here. And this is one of these rare occasions in these times where you realize that what you do, it's also a need for you, and also a need for people to have cultural events and to keep a bit the life sane.
So tonight we will talk with Donika about her artistic practice, but we will also, in the second part of the conversation, we will talk more specifically about her own project, her own residency, which is called Off Season. And if you have any questions during the conversation, feel free to ask on chat or on Facebook, and we will read them to Donika. So please, do ask questions, whatever you want. So Donika, how was these 3 days now here in Wine Bar? I forgot to mention that even though Donika is using Wine Bar, we are tonight in the restaurant Uje, not in her studio, unfortunately, because her studio or wine bar, it's a bit like a cave, so the internet connection is not very stable there, so we didn't want to risk having any technical issues, so we moved here. But we will show some photos of the work you've been doing there, and also people from Split can visit you.
Well, I must admit I have a really nice studio, and I love it. I selected myself when you guys send out the options.
Mm-hmm. Why did you select that one? Because it is quite like a cavey or like a dark.
Exactly for that reason. I mean, I have a piece of original Roman wall inside my studio, so and that obviously interacts with technology, but it's an amazing space, and it's not obviously not a white cube and or like a typical studio, but it's very nice, very warm to work, and also like to attend people coming for visits.
Did you have many visitors?
Yes, and I think most of them were like people involved in arts, artists or local artists, or people already knowing about the project and your residency. So it was very nice to meet them, and also like to exchange experiences from my life as an artist, and also like a culture activator, let's say.
And this is your first time in Split, right?
It's my first time in Split and my first time in Croatia, so I will remember it
rainy
for sure. And well, we will all remember, especially in these times, to be here, of course.
And how do you find the city so far? I mean, it's only been 3 days, but I mean, it is quite special to have a studio in the in the center of the old town and come here every day. And how do you feel the city? Did you already have some impressions? Did you have before coming here, did you have an image of Split in your head, and how does it correlate with the reality, or how do you feel here?
Well, I don't have a picture of Split full of or packed with people in my mind. So I cannot make the difference. I can imagine how it might be, but I cannot really compare the picture of a city full of people and sun and tourists, and then a city which is calm and slow and with another path of life, of course. But well, Split is amazing as a city. It has many layers of history, so it's very nice to experience that, and maybe even better, to be honest. Like, I prefer to visit places not in their like touristic season,
high season,
and also to meet people, local people from the city, and have a conversation, a calm conversation with them. Like, for instance, the people who are hosting me these days, or you, or other guys. So it's a great occasion to experience the city, really the city, I believe.
Were there any situations that were a bit challenging, or did, I don't know, so far did you have some challenges in your studio or being here, or did you have anything that you want to share with us, like something that happened funny or weird, or?
Well, I think, I mean, it depends from the expectations, but when you go in a new place, and especially these times, you are more prepared for less expectations. Like, you are more prepared to take life as it is, to face problems easily or more calm, because nothing is normal, and it's not the normal path of things. So I don't think that I experienced something extraordinary, different from what I might expected. Except maybe the flights and the problems with the customs, and maybe that was a bit more difficult, but also understandable for the moment. So I'm enjoying slowly the process of also working in my studio and experiencing the city during the lunch break. So.
Okay, now we'll move a little bit to your practice, and then we'll talk about what you're doing here. But let's hear first something about your background. Where are you from in Albania, and where did you study? What did you study, and what kind of things did you do before? Then we chose one specific project that we want to talk about, so we will then show it. But can you hear a little bit about your background?
Of course. I mean, I was born in Korça, which is a city in southeast part of Albania, and then I studied the Academy of Fine Arts in Tirana. And graduated in 2010, and I decided to continue my studies in arts, because I studied like multimedia, and I decided to continue the studies in arts, photography and video abroad. So I moved in Cluj-Napoca, Romania, and of course from Cluj then I exploited as much as I could the Erasmus program. So I moved in Italy and then in Germany, which is a very important part of my experience. And in the end, after the studies, I decided to move back in Tirana.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm based in Tirana from 2016, and yeah, this is my base, and always, I mean, moving and traveling for work and residencies, but Tirana is my base city. As a practice, artistic practice, I work a lot with video, but especially video installations, because I want more physicality to the works, to give to the works. Also with performances and installations. I think that a very important aspect for me and for my work is also the public. So many times I like to involve the public within my works. I mean, that's why some videos has also physicality, some others, some other works need reaction, interaction with the public. So this is a very important aspect that you can, yeah, find in
And
my
you
work.
often include personal things in it,
Yeah.
be it your personal things like your his family stories or history, or someone else's stories.
Yeah, I think I work with narratives mostly. Sometimes I forgot that I use my stories a lot. And stories of people around me, situations around me. But yes, that's important. Yeah.
So it is
part.
quite intuitive for you.
So yeah, it's quite intuitive and it's quite personal. So some works I try to talk about history, but in a more personal point of view. So to see this clash and also relationship that different points of view makes an history, or the personal point of view clashes with a more general and let's say viewpoint of history and of an official way of transmitting.
And you actually, you will show us one of projects that actually talks about it, that actually relates to it. So can we maybe see it now?
Yeah, of course. I mean, for today and for the also in relation with what I'm doing.
Here.
Yeah. Also in relation with what I'm doing here in Split, I decided to show you one specific work. And
we will actually show also a small part of this much larger work. It's a video that will be shown in the exchange office tomorrow and the day after, so Thursday and Friday from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Yes. So yeah, this is like a quick slide of my portfolio and works, but I would like to concentrate in one project, which is the BIA project. So the BIA project is intervention and performance in public space in Tirana that now has become a long-term project of mine. The name actually comes from a character, like a person, which was called, who was called Bia. I was working together with another artist, Katarina Stadler, for an exhibition in Tirana with the topic of public, private, and also common or shared space. And what came to my mind in that time was one of the most, let's say, commercial streets in Tirana, which is very close, very central, and it's called Muslim Shuri Street. So this is a street which the ground floor is full of cafeterias and shops, but then you suddenly counter white space, like an old but painted in white. And that was the house of Bia. So it was a woman who...
It is the...
Yeah, it's the
so do you
photo
see... is it shared? Okay.
Yeah. So before the 90s, that street was planned and also inhabited by people, and the ground floor was also apartments. But after the 90s and the change of the regime, of course it changed, and the ground floor of the streets were transformed in cafeterias and shops, like in commercial activities. Bia not only refused to sell or to rent her space, which would be much profitable than just living there, but she produced a daily ritual, who was cleaning and painting in white with lime wash, her facade, the stairs, and slowly she was also invading the public space. And that was in daily basis. And I remember passing by the street and also seeing her painting and shouting to the people to keep the space clean. So that was a strong image, and I wanted immediately to meet this woman, because I had some years abroad and I didn't know what happened with the space anymore. And then I realized that the space was intact. It was more dirty, of course, but Bia has died 2 years ago, and I could not interview or meet her anymore. Well, in my eyes, that was a kind of personal protest. I mean, in a city which is changing fast, and the changes are not just economical, but are also political, are also in a social level. She was like a Bartleby, the scriber. Like, she preferred not to. And of course, it's you can discuss a lot about it, and many philosophers and thinkers have discussed about this way of protesting or of boycotting changes or progress, or like a certain rhythm of life. But she was a living person, not a fiction. So I decided, together with Katarina Stadler, to make a performance and to reenact her gesture. But we did not have the permission to do that. So during the opening of our exhibition, we placed a car with surveillance cameras just in front of the house, and we performed quickly. While all the footage, like all the images, was screening live in the gallery, which was also like a kind of invitation or provocation to the public to think about the public space and the private space of the gallery, since it is actually a performance, and it's how you consume it, like being live, in seeing it for real and not from a screen. And
was, sorry to interrupt you, but was the public, was the audience aware what they're gonna witness, or did they know what they expect? What are they coming to? What kind of show?
No, we didn't announce that it was a performance, especially because I thought the aesthetics of surveillance cameras are explicit enough to give you the idea of an authoritarian eye. So like you who are watching, surveilling a space, you have also kind of authority, or you are in a position to take a decision, to take a stand, what to do with that, like to react, to accept it. So that's why we did not announce before that a performance was going to happen, because we wanted to take the audience and the public unprepared for a decision. So it would be a quick decision from there. But of course, I mean, I don't know how it's in Croatia, but at least in Albania it's a bit difficult to interact. So people are not very used to interactive artworks.
But you wanted people to join you, or to react in what way?
Yeah, to join. I mean, I didn't want it. I wanted to see.
Yeah.
I wanted
If
to
they're
see
gonna
that. Yeah, they did not join, and yeah, some even lost the screening because they were like hanging in other spaces of the gallery, so they did not realize what was going on. But what was also like funny and happy accident in the same time was that the next day I go to the technicians to take the footage, and they told me something happened during the night, and the device who recorded everything was broken. So I do not have any material or evidence of the performance, except some pictures taken in the gallery of people watching the screening. So for months I tried to recover the data until I was told that the only way how to recover it, because it was hardly damaged, is to follow a procedure which is called clean room procedure. And it's a high hygienic and stable temperature space where the engineers are also like masked, and they work like surgeons, like doctors. And they do a physical cleaning of the hard drive. So they remove a piece which is damaged, replace it, and then recover the data. Which for me was super surprising, that it's the same exact gesture of cleaning, but it's in another context. Like even in a super digitalized system, then it needs some cleaning and hygienizing to get a memory back.
Yeah, literally.
So that's why I'm saying that this is a long-term project, because this is also a very expensive procedure, and this procedure that you cannot follow in Albania. So that is waiting for collaboration abroad.
So you still want to do it, waiting for the work.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to take care of the space, because I mean, for the moment it is still like it was, but it will change soon with all the developments in the city, and it is very essential, of course. In some point it will be sold or transformed in something else. So as much as it still exists, I want to keep the space like it is. So like in November, it was the last interaction that I went and I repainted and cleaned the whole space. So
but who owns it now? Is it now the...
They are the inheritors,
Yeah.
which are more than one, of course. And I never had the luck to meet all of them, but last time we had a phone call while I was performing, and they were happy for that, like for taking care of the space and reminding Dia.
That's nice, yeah. But you have also some other plans with it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
You have an idea of how this place should be kept in the future?
yes, I would like also to present a proposal to the municipality to keep it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
And to buy it or to rent it, but to keep it this space as it is. And I'm not saying that that is a cultural heritage house, but that's contemporary art intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So I aim to declare, to depone, request to the municipality to save the space, to keep the space and call it an permanent art intervention.
And what do you expect to get from it?
I don't want to.
But did you ever had a chance to collaborate with municipality regarding this project beforehand, or for example with some of your other public interventions, if you had or not? Like how are their feelings? Do you know towards this space? Of would it be possible to do something?
Well,
like that?
in a city which is changing very fast and it has no sensibility in keeping architectonical heritage, I don't pretend to
Yeah.
to keep
To cope.
a good regard of my request.
But still, yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't have great expectations, but yeah.
It's great that at least the current owners appreciate the effort, the effort that you're putting.
Yeah, and actually it was not the case for the first intervention.
Uh-huh.
And that's why I don't have documents of like pictures, photographs of that, because I tried to take permission and they said no.
They said no.
So I decided to make a very like a illegal fast intervention without getting noticed.
Mm.
But apparently after some time they realized, they appreciated the space, or they realized that I did not have bad intentions. So.
Yeah. So we will see in the exchange office for the next 2 days, we will see one of your video performances, one of your interventions that you are doing. But what, okay, we know what happened to the original piece, or the original work, but how do you feel towards it, as in the sense that there is no documentation of it? You mentioned a really funny story about when you got asked from someone about it, and that you had to explain that it's still a work, even if it just exists in your story and a few photos from the gallery.
Well, yes. I mean, a performance is not. It's not a picture you have, or it's not video documentation of it. A performance is something that happens, and that is the piece. I mean, that's the work. Nothing can replace it. So I was asked, actually, during a studio visit with a curator, and I told him, like I am, like a story and pictures and what happens. They're like, yeah, but how would you show it? I mean, because you don't have any evidence. You don't have any visual material. I say, yeah, but if a picture and or a video can document it, why not story?
Why not story?
You know, why not lecture performance cannot also document or represent a performance? So for now, until the moment that I recover the data, but also make a piece with the recovering process, and I consider accomplished my mission, that's the way how I present the project, actually, with pictures, like with taking care of the space, with making pictures, showing pictures of the street and of the building, and also with narrating the history behind Dia and the piece.
Great. Thank you for this story and the presentation of this project. I think it's super interesting, and we are very happy that we can see some part of it also here in Split. And we actually realized that there are many correlations with the situation in our city, although not quite the same, but in terms of the changing city and keeping places as they were or as they should be, or many questions that we can pose in that sense, especially when talking also in the scope of our project, what we are doing, like it's very much on the line between public and private. So I think it's really interesting to see it in the collaboration, the framework of this project. Maybe you can now show us what you are working on now while you are here in Split, because you had the idea for an installation in your studio.
Yes, I mean, I think from tomorrow or after tomorrow it will be...
It's still work in progress.
Still, yes, we are all involved in that. So, yeah, I mean, for people who are in Split, maybe, let's say, after tomorrow they can come and see...
But if they come tomorrow, they can see how are you working.
They can see the process, yes.
If they came today, they could meet also our electrician
yes, exactly.
that was helping us. Do you have any photo to show us? Or
maybe it's a bit complicated to show pictures
okay.
right now, but
you can just briefly tell us what it is about.
Yes. So this time I decided to make a small intervention on, like a light intervention in my studio, and the whole idea, I want I want play with emotions of people, even though it's a very emotional time for everybody everywhere right now.
But it is again some of your personal experience as well, because
one thing that Albania and Croatia has in common is that in the last year, more or less, we encountered two major catastrophes or like problems, which is the pandemic from one side, and then the earthquake, like in the other side. We had a huge earthquake in November 2019, which had like victims and ruins and a lot of problems that we are still dealing with. And you had one like just in the middle of the pandemic. So what was
two big ones.
Yeah. So what was interesting for me was the dialogue between them. I mean, between these two types of catastrophes. From one side, the pandemic could demand an abandonment of the public space and ask refuge in the private space. And then is the earthquake who demands the other way around. So it's asks you to leave your house and to go in the public space. So both are searching for a safe space. But when they crash together, then which is the safe space? So that was the moment, the gray moment, or the indecision. That inspired me to make like a small intervention to light, like a pending light in the studio, and make it like a constant pendulum that moves all the time, as a form of showing a constant alarm, and not just a moment of alarm or of a catastrophe. So, and also it's like the moment you check when an earthquake happens. It's the moment you check if it was your imagination or it's reality? I mean, did it really quake? It was a shake, or it was just you feeling dizzy? So you look at the light to check reality in that moment. And that moment of checking, that's what I wanted to represent, or to let's say to showcase from. So we are working on the technical parts of that, and
we're looking forward to see how it will be in the end. So before we move to the second part of the conversation, where we are going to talk more specifically about your project and your residency, maybe as a short introduction, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the artistic scene, art scene in Albania at the moment, and institutional but also non-institutional practices that are taking place. I mean, many times during this project we realize that we are actually not very well connected, although we are super close and we used to be the same country, but so it's very interesting to hear some of your experiences, what is happening there at the moment. I mean, especially now with all these changes for the cultural and artistic sector and for the pandemic, and then we can maybe put your project somewhere in it.
Yeah. Well, Albania is small. It's a small country, and also it's basically centralized. All the cultural events and activities are more centralized in Tirana, but also it has two, let's say, two other poles in the south and in the north that lately they came with activities and institutions, which is in Shkodra in the north and Vlora in the south. So it's very hard to describe. Maybe it's not as weird for you as might be, I don't know, for somebody from the US or Berlin or something like this, but there are not commercial galleries to represent artists and to take part in fairs. Mm-hmm. So basically, the art scene is based on voluntary work and a lot of sacrifices and a lot of personal input, I would say. So that's why being an artist in Albania makes you develop some other skills in
surviving skills.
Yes, but also in the production sector of arts. So after struggling myself in producing my works, then I realized that I could also do something not just for me but also for other artists and for the art scene in general. So for the moment I'm also working as a coordinator or let's say a culture activator, which generalizes a bit many roles that you can have in the culture life. And yes, what was curious and interesting when I heard about your residency is that I also take part in the organization or in the part of the organizers of another residency. So it's not my residency, I'm one of the organizers, which is in Radima. And
can you situate Radima for?
So Radima is actually a village close to Vlora, which is like the city in the coastline of Albania. And we organize. I mean, it's me as an independent culture activator, and then in collaboration with Galleria Bregdetit, which means like gallery on the coast.
And they are non-institutional or non-profit organization?
Non-profit organization, and also with partners from Romania. It's Monikino Culture Association, and also Young Actions and Abstractions from Cluj. We together, we are 5 people who are organizing this residency, which is called Off-Season.
Why Off-Season?
Off-Season because as you are organizing a residency in a touristic area, in the off-season, not in the high season. We also organize residency in Radima, in coastline, during the off-season. And last year, or it was the pilot project, so it was the first residency, and we are working on the second edition right now.
So when does it usually take place?
It takes place in October, and of course we had to change, and we had to postpone since it was supposed to happen last April, but then with the pandemic we had to postpone for at least October.
So you had the first one, the pilot project, a few months ago?
Yes. And now we said, okay, we will keep October as the annual time for making the residency.
Great. And so how many artists did you host? Who were they? What were they doing? And how did you select them?
So we have a group of curators from Romania with Dan Angelescu and Flaviu Rogojan, who are the curators, and they select the artists. We had 5 artists, 2 from Romania, 1 from Germany, 1 from Albania, and 1 from Montenegro.
So is it on invitation, or do they apply?
Yes, I mean, we thought that as a pilot, the visibility of a project, no matter how good it is, no matter how reliable the people are, cannot reach so much artists for applications. So we decided to go by invitations, at least for the first edition. That was to see,
And how did it go?
Well, it went great because, of course, it was during the pandemic, and no matter the questions and the insecurities that everybody had, like the artists, but we also had, like, we took the risk and just insist in making it happen. And fortunately, everybody was healthy, and the artists enjoyed the residency and everything. And we are working now on the final product,
which will be
an exhibition in September. Starting from September, it will travel from Radima to Tirana to Bucharest and then to Cluj.
Great. So is it the exhibition of the works that were produced during the residency?
Not that were produced. The residency is a 3-week residency, so it's not enough time to produce a work. But it's maybe enough time to get inspired. So what we provided to the artists was like we were the facilitator of the content. So if they needed to travel around, if they needed to meet specific people that would help them with ideas or with content, then we were the ones who make it happen. And then we gave them a period of reflecting and also producing the work. So the final work will come months later from the residency period.
And what kind of support besides this that you mentioned do you provide? Do you provide any financial support to the artists? And what are your plans for the residency? For example, for this year, do you plan to do an open call? Is it only for artists or maybe curators and other cultural professionals? Or how do you plan to develop it? And what did you learn from this pilot project?
Well, I'm trying to.
Okay, maybe you can stop share. Here.
Yes.
And then share again.
Yeah, I'm trying to show you the website. Yeah, but I have to. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Maybe you can write it to the chat.
Found it. Sorry. Found it. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the website, and you can take a better look.
Okay.
If you want on the.
We will also put links.
Yeah. So what we actually what we have is a whole resort on our disposal. So it's like hotel rooms, the restaurant, the pool, and also a gallery, because the resort also owns art space. And
but how did you? So do you collaborate with this resort, or how did you?
Yeah.
How did you get it?
No, it's because one of the organizers actually is the director of the gallery, and also like part of the resort board and management. So we convinced the management of the resort to give the space to us for 3 weeks after the high season.
But they use the resort normally for tourists.
Yes, and immediately after the closure of the tourist period, we start the residency, so it's still operational. So we have the restaurant space and the kitchen. It is like an open space. So the restaurant, we use it for meetings, and for studios everybody takes tables and works in that, and then we project things. So, we used sometimes the hotel rooms together and see presentations and movies, and also a good part of the time we traveled around, because it's a very rich area in terms of history. And it has just in front of the coast, it is the only one Albanian island which is a military abandoned island, and that was one of the subjects or topics that artists were very interested in. So we also organized 2 trips to the islands, by boat of course, to visit the island and get like a taste of the space. And as you also might have heard about, during the regime, it was a plan of making bunkers all over Albania. But since this is in the coastline and it's like in front of Italy, and it's like the closest coast land to Italy, then it was highly militarized. So not only there are still military zones there, but there are a lot of remains from old times, like bunkers and tunnels, and some bunkers have been used for different things. by people. Some has been included into the architecture, into the yards of houses or during time. And yeah, I mean, it was very interesting for the artists to work with that topic. So it was not a theme that we asked to work, but we asked to engage with the context there. And naturally it went more in that direction. But we asked to engage with the context there. And naturally it went more in that direction. But we are, we are still waiting for the works, and
you'll see what.
Yes.
So you don't intervene that much. You give them so-called like the free hands, but as long as it's inspired by the context or the environment they spend on. Great. So what about this year? How are you planning to do it, and what are your plans?
Well, this year is definitely very hard to plan.
Yes, for sure.
So it's we hope and we promise we will do the best to make it happen, and possibly expand, like with more artists or with other countries involved, because obviously we're going to have Romanian and Albanian artists, since the partnership is between Albania and Romania basically, but we are also open for to invite artists from other countries, both from the region or from Europe. But we are still thinking on the way of selecting. It's very difficult in this time to book things, like book time, to ask artists to make schedules that might change, and it's not very nice to make in the end online residencies. I mean, we don't want that to happen, but but we know that October will be the time of the next editions.
Well, keep us updated.
Of course.
Also keep an eye on it. We'll see if there are any questions, but I wanted to kind of end also with the topic of the residency, because you also have participated as an artist in many residencies, last one being the one in Jaspis in Stockholm. So what did all these experiences of as a resident artist taught you in terms of how would you like to format the residency and think of the residency format to respond best to the needs of the host organization and of the artist?
One thing that I appreciated a lot in Stockholm, and I'm appreciating a lot here, is having a studio, actually. So, because I don't have a studio in Tirana, and actually very few artists have studio in Tirana. So to have a studio, it's a very, like, I really appreciate to have a studio and work in the studio. So I would go immediately for that, to be honest. And also, since in our lives, I mean, maybe I'm talking for myself, but I know also other artists who we are so busy not only in producing artworks, but also working for making a living, that residencies are a great occasion to focus on your artistic projects. So having a studio, having production time, and sometimes even budget, it's great. Because then you can fully concentrate, and you can come with a tangible, like you can use the time in the best way possible. It also depends from the needs. I mean, but for me, this is something that I would go for.
And doing and thinking about residencies during COVID times, it's already quite challenging. So I'm sure that also this format will have to do a lot of adaptations.
Yeah.
Because it is important to experience physically place and to meet people in person, and I mean that is one of the most valuable things, besides also having the space and time to actually produce something. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. No, but definitely this kind of project, because of the times and because of the sacrifices and all the efforts, the extra effort you put, they are even more valuable. So very happy to be here, and my compliments for your work.
Thank you. We are also very happy that you are here, because it wasn't easy to travel and bring you in these times. Do we have some questions?
Yes, we have one question regarding residency.
Yeah.
What was the reaction of the local population on the residency, and did they get involved in any way?
Which residency?
The off-season residency, yeah.
Okay, so it's a bit different from Split. I mean, because the resort is somehow isolated from the town. So the artists, we traveled a lot, like almost every day to the nearest town for shopping, for food, also for inspiration. Like for instance, one artist was very inspired by these pumps, like the water pumps, that they are old, and they like all the last floor, the terraces of flat buildings are full of these depots of water, and she was super amazed of all these pipes and things, so she really visited a lot. And people seeing her taking pictures of these pubs and asking also around, they of course got very curious about. And we should keep in mind that these are places where people are used to tourists. I mean, they are used to encounter foreigners, not inhabitants. But it's one thing visiting a space with curiosity, and it's another thing when you are an artist and what you are interested in and asking for is very old. So, of course, you have funny, weird reactions from the people, but they are very friendly. I mean, they were very curious to ask who these people are, artists from where, and very open to talk and to collaborate with them.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Donika, for tonight, and we will remind just everyone that you are here until Sunday, so they can visit you every day, and that your work, part of your long-term project BIA, will be shown in the exchange office tomorrow and on Friday. Well, we are looking forward to the rest of your stay here in Split, and to see how the installation will end up. And thank you once again for coming.
Thank you. And I hope to see you soon in my studio.
Thank you. Good night.